Ms. Seema Sapru, the principal of the Heritage School, holds a master's degree in chemistry and in education, and a postgraduate diploma in school leadership management. She is a keen learner. She has completed the online certificate course in multiple intelligence theory program from Harvard University, USA, and the Global Career Catalyst program conducted by the University of California, Los Angeles. She has also attended residential courses at IIM Ahmedabad on strategic leadership management. Ma'am has been teaching for 30 years and has been a principal for 17 years. She has been the principal of the Heritage School since 2007.
MAM is on the advisory board of various educational organizations and is on the panel of inspectors for affiliation to the Council for the Indian School Certificate Examinations. She is a master trainer for the subject chemistry and has been an ICSE examination convener. She has been awarded several awards, the latest being Principal of the Year India by India Today and NDTV Education Award. She has been a panelist at various webinars conducted by institutions like Ashoka University and OP Jindal University, among others. She was also the moderator for Aparajita 2020, organized by Sanmark. We welcome you, ma'am, to Joanna Studio Cityscapes. Today, I, Anushka Bansal of Venkateshwar International School, Delhi, and my friend Khushi Purohit, Navrachna School, Sama Vadodara, would like to interview you about your experiences as a leader and educator. We would also like to explore the effects of coronavirus on the teaching methods and how it has changed the dynamic of traditional education in India.
Thank you, children. You've been very kind and generous with my introductions. It seems like you're reading about somebody else. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, so tell me, shoot, children. You can start
Right.
off.
So, the first question I'd like to ask you is what, according to you, are the three biggest challenges of managing a co educational school?
Are you in a co-ed school?
Yeah.
So I'll tell you the first thing that I feel about co-ed schools is, which I feel very sad about, is that, children are different. Boys and girls are different. Their likes and dislikes are really different. Although, generally we treat them equally and everything is fine with them. It's just that when you go to class and the children ask for, a free period, or they say, ma'am, let's do something else today. So we tell them, okay, what? So their interests are never the same. Boys want to go out and play, girls want to sit down and they want to either chat with you and they want to ask you, ma'am, which is your favorite film? Ma'am, which is the latest video you watched? Or ma'am, let's play dumb charades or something like that. So their interests are never the same. That's one thing. Secondly, I feel very, very bad about one thing, which is, girls and boys, girls are as troublesome as boys, and boys are as troublesome as girls. So what happens is they fight with each other. And when they fight, girls are the first ones to go and hit them and run away. And the boys being boys, they'll never say anything. They'll also run behind, once in a while they would run behind and hit the girl. The moment the boy hits the girl, one long story starts. The girl would start crying. He hit me, and then everybody, all the teachers, including me, you are a boy. Why did you hit the girl? So aren't we being, this is not being nice. So sometimes we do that. Okay. So that's the second challenge. And the most important challenge is there are children who come to me from grade 11s and 12s and they tell me, ma'am, why is it that when girls grow their hair, that's accepted? When boys grow their hair, you get very angry with them. When girls wear their earrings, you have no problems. But when boys wear earrings, you have problems. If girls wear trousers, you don't have a problem. If boys wear skirts, you have a problem. So a lot of children tell me that, ma'am, why can't we have only trousers for everybody? So I said, why not have skirts for everyone? So boys say, no, ma'am, but we don't want to wear skirts. And the girls say, ma'am, we also don't want to wear skirts. We only want to wear trousers. Then the boys would say, ma'am, if the girls can cut their hair very, very short, just like boys, have a crew cut, you don't say anything. But if we grow hair, like girls, you punish us. So why are you people so much against boys and in favor of girls? And well, then I feel very bad for boys. So these are three challenges I face.
Ma'am, those were some great insights on these challenges of co-education, because I'm sure that most schools would relate to this, because I've personally faced it as well and I've seen it happening in my school. So it's very relatable. Thank you, ma'am. But moving on, I'd like to ask you that, or I would like to ask you about your views on co-curricular activities. Personally, I've always participated in extracurricular activities, and so I'm quite curious to know, how do you think co-curricular and extracurricular activities impact a child's academics? Does it help or does it distract the students from his or her studies?
So first tell me, Khushi, are you good at studies?
I'd like to think that, yes, ma'am. I'm good at studies, yes.
That's the answer to your question. See, you said you participate in a lot of co-curricular activities and you're good at studies as well. So that means, I firmly believe that children should have varied interests. So we as a school, at the Heritage School Kolkata, what we do is we have a long day school. We start at 7 and we finish at 4. That's an extended hour school. So every single day there are about 1.5 hours where children get to play, do activities. We have a lot of fun. And somehow I firmly believe that children, when they play, they run around. So the blood circulation probably helps them to concentrate better. That's one thing. Secondly, if they do it, as co-curricular activities, debating or quizzing or whatever they do, I feel that's a part of their curriculum. So where is the problem? In any case, our children, the ones who do very well in school, and they're national toppers or they do extremely well in the state level, wherever, I think they are the ones who do very well. And then, of course, it's we're not talking about just the academic success. We're talking about success in life. So success in life depends on your holistic learning. And I firmly believe co-curriculars are very, very important. I mean, you should get at least 40% time should be given to co-curriculars and 60% to academics. That's how. Or maybe 50-50 is also fine with me.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing your views. I highly value them. Speaking of extracurriculars and activities, it is pretty sad that we're all locked up in our homes during this pandemic. And so I would like to ask you, regarding COVID-19, how is the situation in your city, your area, in Kolkata, and how is your school contributing to the control of this pandemic?
See, as far as the contribution of our school is concerned to control it, well, I don't think we can't do anything much. Only thing that we're doing is we're trying to help. So we've got these self-help groups, and we have a whole lot of children who are associated with various organizations, and they've raised funds. And our school, as such, they've also contributed to the PM fund and also to the CM's fund. And all of us teachers, we have which came from all the teachers, we've given our some days of our salary. And it's not that we feeling bad about it or I'm wanting to blow my own trumpet and say, okay, we've done this. No, I didn't want to say that. But well, we've done it because you're asking me. So I'm telling you, we've all given up a few days salary so that we could contribute to CM's fund and PM's fund. And we've done some little bit of work, raised some funds. We are also working with some underprivileged children, where we realize that the schools are teaching them. Unfortunately, that teaching cannot happen because the children don't have any device. So what we're doing is we are collecting. We've started a drive where we are collecting these old phones and old tabs from everybody possible. So we've collected some of them, and now we're going to give them to the NGOs we are connected to and we are attached to. Because we realize because the lack of devices, the children are not being able to learn. So that's what we're doing. And sorry, I didn't answer your first part of the question. How is Calcutta as far as COVID is concerned? It's pretty bad. And I think there are some very, very important decisions taken. Like today is a total lockdown.
That was incredibly fascinating to learn about how schools in Kolkata are contributing to control the pandemic. especially the part where you mentioned how you've been collecting new devices to help the underprivileged out. I think that's a really, special thing to be able to do. Moving further, I was very curious to know, has your school introduced any yoga or fitness classes for the students to cope with the stress of being stuck at home?
Yes, Anushka. What we've done is, in fact, from the beginning itself, we are called the Heritage School not because we are a branch of any other school. We're not, because the trustees believed that the heritage of the country and the heritage of Indian heritage had to be imbibed among children. So we have about 5 yoga teachers in our school,
Okay.
and so we've got a yoga and mindfulness and meditation. So this is taught. In fact, every day when we begin our classes, we have a short um a prayer which we begin with, and so the teachers are there praying with the children, and then we have about 5 to 7 minutes of maybe meditation or mindfulness where everybody sits quietly, and so the videos are on and we can see everybody, they're all sitting quietly. That's it. And then of course yoga is a part where twice a week everybody does yoga. So the teachers are there who do yoga with them on online, which is very sad. Of course, we're not liking the fact that we're doing it online, but can't be helped.
Right. Thank you, ma'am, for talking about how your school has been able to inculcate yoga and fitness into the curriculum. Moving on, I just wanted to know from you, what, in your opinion, is the most effective way for you to run online classes?
See, we using Microsoft Online, and I think Microsoft Online has come in absolutely handy for us as well. So we are using Microsoft Online, and I think the classes are being conducted very, very well. We've also tried Google Classroom. So there are two things at the same time we are using: Microsoft Teams and Google Classroom. These are the two things that we're using. And we are very, very happy with both of them, because sometimes teachers, or children, they feel that they're doing one and they have to switch from one class to the other class. So sometimes activity classes or sports classes are being held only on Google Classroom, and Microsoft Teams are only for academic classes, or it's the other way around, so that it's there's equal distribution of work for everybody. So that's how we're doing it, and we are very happy with Microsoft.
That's great to know, ma'am. That's great to know that you're balancing it out amongst different softwares. Well, speaking of online classes and a way to run them smoothly, I'd like to ask, ma'am, how attentive are students during online classes? And how do we engage non-participating students on a virtual learning platform?
Khushi, what happens is, it's not about online teaching that I firmly, we're talking about. I firmly believe that there is a different kind of a culture in each school, and the school that I come from, we have a very different kind of a relationship with our children. So it's like about mutual respect. So we respect the students and their parents, and students and parents respect us, and we are very open and transparent about everything that we do. So I guess that helps us a lot in maintaining discipline, because children know that teachers are working hard. They have put in a lot of effort in making their videos, in making PowerPoints, in doing their research and getting the material. So somehow, you know, we do say that immediately. There is a protocol, in fact, online protocol that we've made, which clearly states that children are supposed to wear their school uniform. They should keep their videos on. Teachers can ask for them to, switch on their videos anytime or answer any question. Their the DP has to be, acceptable to the school. It has to be decent. A DP that is there, and of course, children can't write, cross chat in between something which is not relevant to the subject. So all these protocols are there, and I think so far our children haven't really, misbehaved that much that we had to take action. So basically, as I would say, the culture of the school is such that, teachers respect students and students respect their teachers. So there is a an atmosphere, an environment of mutual respect. And I think teachers feel bad if somebody says anything to the student, and students feel very bad if anybody says anything to their teacher. So it's a beautiful relationship that we share. Maybe because of that, children don't misbehave sometimes because they feel that their teachers will feel hurt.
Yes, ma'am, certainly. I appreciate your opinion and your ideas, ma'am. And it's great to know that there is such mutual respect and love amongst your two students and teachers. It would be good to not lose out on interesting discussions and debates with teachers and with classmates, even if we're studying online. And keeping this in mind, keeping the online teaching in mind, keeping the COVID scenario in mind, I would like to say that it is rightly said that education is the passport to the future. For tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today.
Yes.
With this, I'd like to know, ma'am, what is your opinion on online teaching and the future of traditional education in India?
Khushi, what happens is when we start off again, hopefully, even if we reopen our schools post, say, September, October, I'm very doubtful if parents will send their children. Half the parents will not send their children unless they have been given that vaccine. That's the first thing. Secondly, we also will be a little more careful about, the safety and the precautions that we take because we are very, very concerned about our children. So we will be doing school, but it won't be, maybe it will be in different schedules, maybe shorter hours. And I think blended learning will continue. So we will have online, offline learning. I think that is the future as of now, because complete, face-to-face learning may not happen this year or maybe for the next few months.
Right. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your insight on online teaching and the future of traditional education in India. In these unprecedented times, it is indeed a relief to know that our country's educators are prepared for the challenges ahead. It is quite rightly said, life is a never-ending learning process. In all your years of providing education at your esteemed institution, what can you say that your students have taught you in return?
Anushka, whatever I am as of today is because of my children. Because frankly, if children hadn't asked me difficult questions, I would never look for those answers. So this happens quite a few times. It's a very, very humbling, experience when you go to class, and especially in a subject like chemistry, where you go teach and then you realize children ask you a question and you don't know the answer. Number of times you don't know the answer. So you have to go and tell children, look, children, I really don't know the answer. Could you give me time till tomorrow? Can I look up the answer and I'll give you the correct answer? And I think this transparency, this, honesty about not knowing something is what we appreciate. And children also appreciate that because you're not trying to, show off that I know everything. No, I don't know it. I really don't know it. So children, you people have been very fortunate. And so that is one thing. Secondly, you'll be surprised. Children, when I'm using, say, a phone and some ex-students come in and they say, ma'am, you're still using this phone? Ma'am, you don't even know the features of this phone. They come and they start teaching me. This is how it's supposed to be done. So there's so much to learn from children. And of course, they're very, very sweet kids. Children are very, very lovely. And I don't know, I'm in love with all my children.
It's been such a wonderful experience discussing all of this with you, ma'am. And we're both definitely very inspired by you. And I'm sure all of our listeners will be too. So, as we're approaching the end, is there anything you would like to add on, ma'am?
Just before this pandemic happened, we would continuously talk to our children and we would tell our parents not to give, too many devices, not to give, cell phones to children and, whatever. I'm happy about the thing that the children have understood that phones or online or internet is not just meant for Google and Twitter and Instagram. You can use, your internet for meaningful purposes and for meaningful learning, for purposeful learning. So that's one thing which has definitely happened. Secondly, this is a request, and this is one message to all my, people who are my age, younger than me, whoever's in teaching line, to make your classroom, your school, your the entire campus a learning space, not a teaching space. Because we are learning all the time, and children are learning all the time, from a peon to a principal to an administrator to everybody. I think the kind of learning we get, with being with children, it's amazing.
That's a beautiful message, ma'am, and I'm sure I'll do my very best to convey it to my teachers and my fellow students. Thank you so much, ma'am, for taking out your time to connect with us. This was Kushi and Anushka interviewing Miss Seema Sapru, Principal, the Heritage School, Kolkata, West Bengal, for Juana Studio Cityscapes. Signing off.